Welcome to the world of education, a playground full of problems and a hope for the future. This is our educational playground, California State Chico, where we live by the college's motto, "Today decides tomorrow." We are the Integrated Teachers Core Group. Our goal is to gain insight and learn about the world of education, so when we graduate, we will be prepared to have our own classroom. In one word, describe your ideal teacher.
Understanding.
Passionate.
Informative. Responsible.
Different.
Fun.
Cooperative.
Scrumptious.
Easygoing.
Understanding. Helpful.
Attentive.
Enthusiastic.
Compassionate.
What qualities do you think make up the ideal teacher?
Curiosity. I think it's a different stance towards teaching than sometimes is currently practiced. So I think instead of seeing yourself as an expert or a knower, that it's better to see yourself as someone who's still learning and curious, and what can you learn from your students.
Someone who really loves teaching is part of it. Someone who enjoys themselves, learning new things, who is naturally intellectually curious.
But moral integrity, the fiber inside that says that I'm an honest person, that says I really value people's lives and that people's learning. I value what people have to say. That moral integrity can't be manufactured. It can't be faked, and there's no substitute for it.
What are some ways you learn best?
I learn best with like in groups and projects together.
I think I'm more of a hands-on learner than a sit down and read a book type of learner.
Hands-on experience from the teacher.
Through reading and visualizing.
Just being able to see things in different ways, hearing it and also seeing it as well.
Definitely visual learning.
Touching things, like being physical, like hands-on.
For the most part, visually.
Through like hands-on experiences and projects, rather than doing like just paperwork and having to learn it through lectures and books and stuff like that.
I like to interact and actually do it.
How do you think children learn best?
I think they learn best when they're in a place where they can take risks and they feel safe. So what I find interesting in a classroom is to make things rigorous and really hard, but also low stakes, so that they can try on difficult ideas but not feel like they're going to be punished for trying to understand those. I also think that people learn best by doing. So actually having them write papers in class, actually having them give feedback in class, I think is better than talking about it and going outside of class to do it. So I'm a big fan of thinking about learning as situated, thinking about learning as happening in dialogue with other people.
The more active they are when they learn, the better they learn. So I think the more physical involvement that's used, I think that makes for better learning.
When we feel trusted and we feel respected in an environment where we're allowed to explore and be curious, then the learning process in some ways sort of naturally takes place.
What would you like your teacher to know about you that would help improve your learning experience?
What I think a teacher can know about every student that would help improve all of our learning. I know it's almost an impossible request, but just each student's learning style. Like if a student's a visual learner or if they're a hands-on learner, things like that, and a teacher can cater to that, then I think the in-class experience would be awesome.
I think if they knew like my interests, so that they could kind of cater more towards like it exactly.
I usually do worse in all my classes that specifically just sit down and test.
I don't like to waste time.
And I don't like online assignments because I forget to do them.
Like listen to the student's point of view, try to grasp their point of view, or try to explain their point of view instead of.
What do you think needs to be done to improve education?
Where to start? Well, I do think there's something about, I actually think we don't talk a lot about some of the questions you're asking, which is how do people learn? I think if we started with theories of learning, instead of, say, for example, classroom management, that might help us think about our structures differently. So clearly we're talking a huge range of things that need to happen, from policy level and teachers' input on that policy, from funding for schools, and then the way classrooms are structured. I think if we started with every child is capable of learning, and in fact they're quite good at it, that would change the structures of schooling.
A system of leadership which is really geared toward being responsible to the students and their parents, not to textbook companies or to federal mandates for the latest and the greatest kind of test. So I think leadership on the district level. I think on the school-wide level, schools need to really be places where everybody can learn. So I think there needs to be a rethinking of how schools are organized in terms of time.
Wholesale testing of every little thing that kids do is the ruination of our teachers and of our system. We've got the idea as a government, and we've bought into an idea over a lot of years, it's not just the last 8 years, but over a lot of years, that the more we test, the more we put under the microscope the processes of what happens in the classroom, the better things are going to be. It's like getting a physical test every day of the week. It's like getting your temperature taken all the time. For heaven's sakes, if we could spend as much time on real, genuine teaching and learning, and spend that much time and dollars as we do on testing of kids, we'd have a lot better system.
What do you think are some of the challenges future teachers might face?
Well, I think for one thing, it's hard to imagine what your students are going to need to know. So it's back to how do we help you to develop a curiosity around ideas so that you can help them, because ultimately, do we really know what's going to go on in 2028? I mean, that's what I think is hard for future teachers.
There will be a time when somebody convinces you that you could be making more money. There will be a time when somebody convinces you or you convince yourself that it's not worth the hard work. There will be a time when you decide that the hours are too long, or there's some other thing happening. The challenge will be to you to not lose the reason why you went into teaching in the first place.
We are students.
We are children.
We are tutors.
We are learners.
We are leaders.
We are adults.
We are mentors.
We are ITC, and we will educate the future.